Welcome to Crossbody of Work. My name is Evan.
I am Javier.
This week, Haas Month continues as we look at the varied career. I always love when we get to say a varied career because this man has been
Yep.
everywhere, done a lot of different things. What a wild career for Matt Bloom, a.k.a. Albert, a.k.a. A-Train, a.k.a. Giant Bernard, a.k.a. Lord Tensai, a.k.a. Baldo from Peabody, Massachusetts.
Yes, it's just Peabody.
Peabody?
It's just Peabody, yeah. Fun fact, one of my old roommates, shout out to Joe. You're not listening to this, but shout out to Joe. I hated Joe, by the way. Living with Joe sucked. No, see, okay. So here's the we're gonna
We are a
pulling back the curtain.
minute in, and you
No,
are like, and
we're
fuck
pulling back
Joe.
the curtain now because I didn't even know Matt Bloom was from Peabody. But anyways, we're pulling back the curtain now. So I went to UMass Amherst for 3 years because I transferred there, and I dormed my first year only. And it was in this suite with like a bunch of different people in rooms, and one of the there was this other double because I was in a double. There was this other double that we got along really well. And then the next year, me and those two guys moved into a townhouse together. And I was really tight with one of the two, and the other guy, like we were like cool from the like sweet stuff. And then like we started living together, and this guy's just like a fucking pig. He's just causing a
Oh,
mess. It's the worst, and he just wouldn't. He'd
that's
play
tough.
Fortnite until like 3 a.m, like every night, just downstairs screaming, drunk off his ass. I'm like, come on, man. Also, a very hairy individual. So I think there's something in the waters over there in Peabody.
Something in the Peabody waters. I love saying Peabody. I'm going to say that for all time now. That's fantastic. Before we dive into talk about Matt Bloom and his career, and before Javier shits on more roommates, you should make sure to be listening to this on YouTube. Check us on YouTube. You can watch us. You can see our wonderful expressions as we talk. You should also hit the like button, hit subscribe. We have lots of wonderful content. We just did a little mini-sode on Kevin Owens winning the Universal Championship. It's a wonderful time. Go and watch that. Go watch all of our shows. And check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Crossbody of Work. I'm not calling it X. You cannot make me. On Instagram, we have all of our wonderful games we've been doing. Javier's been testing himself with the wrestling grids. Doing a damn fine job, I must say.
I'm great at this shit. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Immaculate, some may say. So a little bit more about Matt Bloom, who, again, people may now know as the head trainer in NXT. If you're an older fan like us, you may know him as Albert or A-Train. If you're a Japanese wrestling fan, maybe as Giant Bernard. Lots of different facets to this man's career. He attended the University of Pittsburgh. He was a football player, offensive tackle, offensive guard, and graduated in 1996 with a degree in sign language, which I find very fascinating. Very
I
cool.
didn't even know that was a thing you could get a degree in.
He was an undrafted free agent signing by the San Diego Chargers and was waived by the team. And then this is a really fun story about how he became a wrestler. So he was a school teacher. He taught math and English to children with behavioral problems and deaf students at Revere High School in Massachusetts. I assume that's Massachusetts.
Revere, yeah. Revere is not a fun place.
Okay.
They have the ghetto beach.
After rewarding his three most apt students with a trip to a professional wrestling show, he, who as a child wanted to be a professional wrestler, met Killer Kowalski and expressed an interest in learning how to wrestle. And if you don't know, Matt Bloom, because this is Haas month still, so he's a big boy, 6'7", 330.
Throughout this episode, we saw him at 6'6". We heard him at 6'8".
He is listed on Wikipedia as 6'7", 330. And Kowalski took one look at him and said, "Absolutely, I'll train you. You're a giant of a man." Bloom opted to leave teaching and train as a wrestler. He then started training, of course, with Killer Kowalski. He was introduced to talent scout Tom Pritchard. Bloom was hired by the WWF, and after receiving some supplementary training from Dory Funk Jr., he was signed to Power Pro Wrestling, which is the developmental territory in Memphis, Tennessee. And that is where we have our first match. It is Baldo. That is Matt Bloom's gimmick at this point, is Baldo versus Streak. The man's name is Streak.
I just got to say, Baldo, like at first when I saw it, I was like, this has to be like a rib or whatever. But honestly, it kind of grew on me as a name.
It's kind of a dope name.
Yeah, like I kind of fuck with it.
You ever have anybody who has like such an aggressive nickname that you're like, holy shit, like you like that nickname? Like that's, sometimes they own it.
Stinko.
Do you have a Stinko in your life?
Well, not like directly, but there's a like he's a friend of a friend, so I know of him. Well, his name is Nick, But instead of calling him Stinky Nicky, they just call him Stink. Like, I think it just evolved over time to just Stinko.
We never actually called him that often, but I had a guy that I was friends with in high school who had a French background, who was a very soft individual, and somehow someone said that he was soft as tits, and he became Letits, and that was his name in like everybody's phone for about 2 years.
Le tits now.
That's yeah, very much. That's where it came from. So we're in Power Pro Wrestling, March 27th, 1999. Why is Baldo brought to the ring by his CPA? Who is this? Who is this
Brother,
fucking guy?
why is Brian Christopher backstage in front of like the boiler room? Like,
Because there's nobody more over in Power Pro Wrestling than Brian Christopher, probably. Because of course he is the son of Jerry Lawler and positioned against him constantly.
pretty much the son of the Booker, which is so weird here.
Son of the Booker man.
And they like tease that he's going to spill some tea here, but he never does.
Never does. Baldo cuts a promo before the actual match. He says he knows two things: how to make money and how to hurt people. There's also, in the clip you've provided for us, a set of commercials from 1999 TV in
God.
Memphis.
I need you to stop speaking right now because this is my time to shine.
Okay.
There is a specific one. I believe it's involving like health insurance or so. I don't even know what the fuck it is, but it's just some guy in a suit, just like speaking like he's freaking like a Beyond the Music type shit.
Are you talking about the moment of health and happiness with Al Green?
That's Al Green.
That's the moment of health and happiness with Al Green. And then
No,
he sings
brother.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the one you're talking about.
You can make the biggest difference when it comes to your health and happiness.
I like your impression of him because now you sound like Eric Cartman. There's also an F-150 ad. The F-150 looks like shit. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh my god. And then there's like a weird like insurance thing in between that, which
And I don't know if you caught this on commentary, but we get back, and commentary is introducing us to the match because Baldo and Streak are actually going to wrestle here.
Yeah.
These sound like rejected American Gladiators, by the way. Streak and Baldo.
they look like them too.
Commentary says NBC News may interrupt at any time due to the showdown with Saddam. I was like, what? What's happening? It's a lot. It's a lot happening. All of this to say, the match is honestly about Baldo not bad.
Yeah,
For being
Streak
in training,
looks like that magician wrestler. What the fuck was it? Fantasio?
yeah, he looks like Phantasmo.
Yeah, that's literally looks like that. Baldo attacks Streak on the outside after Streak puts hands on some dude named Bruno. I didn't know who this Bruno fellow was.
No, me neither.
Baldo chokes him out on the middle rope. He does a standing leaping elbow drop for a near fall. Then he goes for a splash, misses the splash, and that's really what allows Streak to get back into the match.
Yeah, he runs him into the corner. Baldo dodges, clotheslines him down. We get the trap hold by Baldo, which we're going to see Matt Bloom loves himself a trap hold. He is a trap queen. He is living life. Streak with the sunset flip attempt. Baldo tries to bonsai drop to counter. Streak moves. We get rights by Streak, a clothesline that knocks Baldo down. Another scoop slam. Streak whips Baldo into the corner, but he squishes the ref. You never want to squish the ref. That's a bad time.
Yes, no, bad thing to do.
Did you catch the name of the gentleman who interferes?
Yes, I did. So Streak hits a DDT, ref is down, and then while the ref is down, Vic Grimes comes out. And
Vic
now you may be
Grimes.
asking, Evan, or at least the people listening, who the heck is Vic Grimes? Vic Grimes.
I know who Vic Grimes
is the man that gets absolutely pushed to the goddamn brink of hell by New Jack. The guy who gets thrown off the goddamn thing with New Jack, that New Jack ends up cracking a scroll. Yeah, that was Vic Grimes that fell on him.
Yeah, New Jack suffered brain damage, was permanently blind in his right eye after that. Vic Grimes would also be Key, the third member of Albert and Draz's little faction when Albert first debuts.
Shot.
They would come up together. He was Key because he was their drug dealer. That was the whole gimmick. He was a Key of Coke. Anywho, Vic Grimes.
Do you think that the showrunners for not even the showrunners? Do you think that who's the guy that makes the Walking Dead comics, the graphic comics?
No idea.
Oh my god, it's a famous guy. I should know this. I used to read them all the time as a kid. Anyways, do you think that he was inspired by Vic Grimes to make Rick Grimes?
I hope so. I hope so.
because
Robert Kirkman.
yeah, Robert Kirkman, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Vic Grimes comes out. He hits his shoulder like back. He basically gets him like back first onto his shoulder, and then he drops. So it's a
Yeah, so it's like a
backbreaker onto
backbreaker.
Vic's shoulder. Baldo crawls over. The ref counts 3. Baldo wins the match.
Bloom would debut not 3 weeks later in WWF.
Damn.
April 11th, 1999. On an episode of Heat, he debuted on Heat, saving Draws from a beating at the hands of the Big Boss Man. He was introduced as the personal body artist of Draws, who had a lot of tattoos, and was nicknamed Prince Albert, which we all know what that comes from. It's a genital piercing. If you didn't know that, you're welcome for that fun fact you could share
I
around the
did
water
not know
cooler.
that.
You did not know that?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not. I wasn't that much of a child growing up.
I learned this at age 8 for some fucking reason. Together, they formed the short-lived trio with Key. Draws and Albert did team together until Draws was unfortunately paralyzed in October of '99. At which point, Albert became the protege of the Big Boss Man very briefly, but they separated once Bull Buchanan came up, and he took that
Yep.
role instead.
B
And
squared.
so, in March 2000, Bloom, still wrestling as Prince Albert, was recruited by Trish Stratus to form TNA with Test. And of course, they shortened his name to Albert because he was no longer royalty. He wanted to be a commoner of the people. His official name was shortened at the WrestleMania 2000's All Day Long event in a match against Head Cheese. Remember Head Cheese? Al Snow, Steve Blackman.
Great tag team. Honestly, one of my favorite tag teams ever. Just like 2 of my guys. It's 2 of my guys, Evan, before you say anything.
2 absolute guys. Let's talk about the promo that you picked for us. It's from WWF Jacked Metal, because we spelled Jacked with 2 Ks because Braun Breaker needed to have an origin story somewhere. April 22nd, 2000. They're cutting a promo on the Dudleys.
You know, I just got to say, this is a very short promo, and he gets maybe a third of the time, if that.
There is nothing like loading up the promo for the week, seeing that it doesn't start with a 1. Like, there's nothing in the minutes column on the. I was like, oh, it's just seconds.
Here's the thing: is like the reason for it mostly is because it's really fucking difficult to find Albert promos on the internet.
He doesn't cut a lot of. He cuts a lot of like right before match promos.
2,
or
it makes
backstage
like
things.
I made up for it a lot. He cuts like 4 promos throughout these matches.
That's
like,
true.
The
That's
first
what I was
match he cuts a
saying.
promo. The next match he cuts a promo. Like he cuts a promo a lot.
That's
Not a bad
little
promo.
promos.
This guy.
No, that's little promos.
He goes, Tess says some shit. I don't really care what Tess says. We already did a Test episode.
Tess says that the pudginess of the Dudley Boys' asses is proof that this is the only TNA they've seen in their lives.
It's a hard line. I'm not even gonna hold you.
Pudginess is a very funny way to describe people.
Got fat ass. Anyways,
he's fat.
Albert goes, let me tell you something, Bubba Dudley. You put your hands on our woman. He really accentuates the Massachusetts in him. On our woman, I'm going to put your fat ass through a table. And Devon, I'm going to knock your teeth down your throat.
Very effective. Somewhere a little Enzo Amore is also writing things to insult Bubba and Devon.
And then Trish, I mean, I would also shut up if Trish did this to me. If Trish just goes, stop talking.
In December of 2000, the team would separate after Matt Bloom attacked Test under the orders of Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. And then in April of 2001, we're not covering this, but I felt amiss to not bring up the greatest faction the world's ever known. You can have your Shields, you can have your NWOs, you can have your Bullet Clubs. They're no X Factor, goddammit. April 2001, Albert formed a stable with Just Incredible and X-Pac. And Albert, while he was in X Factor, won the Intercontinental title. Do you remember
I'm sorry,
this?
Albert is a former Intercontinental champion.
He defeated Kane with the help of DDP to win the IC title. He would lose it on the July 23rd episode of Raw. So for the month of July in 2001, Albert was the Intercontinental champion.
Is this where the IC title got devalued?
Kind of.
It's like
a little.
It got propped up a little bit there, sometime middle towards
Jericho,
the end of '99,
yeah.
And then the whole 2000, and then it went to Eddie, and it was really good too. And like
the thing is, with all titles in the Invasion storyline, they had no fucking idea what to do with any of them. Like they genuinely had.
All right,
no
but giving
idea.
it to the guy from fucking X Factor ain't doing it.
Well, if you're gonna get to anyone from X Factor, it should be Albert. Albert and X Pac continued to X Factor, even though Just Incredible left to form or to join the alliance. And then X Pac was sidelined with an injury. We are going to take a break. When we get back, we're looking at a rebranding of Albert into A Train. Back from the break, we're skipping over the fact that Albert was also considered, quote, the hip hop hippo with Scotty 2
Yeah,
Hotty
we're
at one
not doing
point.
that one either.
Nope. But then in 2002, December, Paul Heyman and Big Show went up to Albert and they said, "Hey, you should rename yourself A Train and debut new attire and really like take control of your control your narrative, right? Take control of your own story." Uh, he then had his new attire, which led to people yelling "Shave your back" at him because he's a very hairy man.
He
But it
do be
also
very
led to a
hairy.
renewed push in the brand split early SmackDown era. A Train was like a prominent member of the roster.
Yeah. He was like one of those. I mean, in 2003, by this point, I was watching wrestling.
Yeah.
Like I just remember him as, I don't know, like what would an equivalent like character kind of be nowadays? It's like just like a big guy who I don't want to say Bronson Reed, but low key kind of how like Bronson Reed's used now,
I
like
feel like
right now.
I feel like if you like combined Bronson Reed and just the right pecking order on the card of Baron Corbin, like
Yeah. Honestly,
that's
Baron
kind of what
Corbin's not a terrible pick either. Like
yeah,
he's just kind of like not. I don't want to say Bronson Reed almost because it's kind of disrespectful because I do think like he's actually like world championship material if you do well enough by him.
yeah. I
But
think
like
that
his
it's where
current
he's at.
position, like
Yeah,
as of August 9th, 2023, right where he is on the card, he's still an undercard guy, really in
yeah.
that mid card kind of region. And
We're
he's only there
you can do
sometimes.
some projecting with Bronson Reed. We know where Albert ended up, right? We know what
Yeah.
his yeah. I think he's still great, and you need these people in your roster. And so we're looking at a
Yes.
match January 9th, 2003. A Train versus Brock Lesnar. We get a clip
Here comes the pain.
of Lesnar starting this out, doing shoulder raises with propane tanks. And I was like, this
No,
is
not
fucking
shoulder.
hard.
It's shoulder shrugs,
Shrugs. He's
everyone.
doing
He's getting the traps going.
another trap. He knows that A Train likes the trap squeeze. He's like, I can't go down to that.
Yeah.
Before the
A
match,
Train
yeah.
then goes and meets up with Paul Heyman and Big Show because they're gearing up to challenge Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble to decide who gets in the Royal Rumble match. Spoiler alert: Brock Lesnar wins the 2003 Royal Rumble.
Big Show does not.
Um,
A Train says that he's going to do that he did a career-ending or career-threatening injury to Rey Mysterio, and same as he did to Rey Mysterio, he's going to do to Lesnar, and everyone's like, same,
by the way,
yeah,
he says because Rey Mysterio doesn't measure up to A Train physically. Brock Lesnar doesn't measure up to A Train physically, and I was like, nope, that's where I'm gonna have to stop you right there, brother.
Then it gets worse. He then says no one measures up to A Train physically while standing eyes to chin to the Big Show.
Like this,
Yeah, and I'm like,
like he's bigger.
this is like when guys who are 5'9" say they're 6 feet, and then they meet someone who's 6 feet.
It's like, my dad still to this day refuses to admit he's 5'9" as he looks up to me a little bit. It's like I'm 6 feet tall.
See, you just gotta own it. I can't lie. I'm 5'8" on skates. What am I gonna
Hey
do?
man, if anything, I'm downgrading myself because I could go 6'1" because I'm shoot height. I am 6 feet and 3/4.
There you go.
Shoot height. I'm not
Five,
gonna do that because I'm not 6'1".
5'6.5", roughly Rey Mysterio height with Otis build, baby. That's where I'm at.
My girlfriend. So full disclosure for everyone. My girlfriend only heard me saying that exact part, looked at me, shook her head, and then dipped.
I feel like I've told this story in the podcast, but it's been a while, so whatever. Any baseball fans out there, you'll appreciate this. I was at the gym working out, unprompted. Old guy comes up to me. He goes, "You like the Blue Jays?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You look exactly like Alejandro Kirk." And
You do look a little bit like Alejandro Kirk.
but the worst part about it is, as he said that, he did like a full like scan me up and down to confirm that my body was close enough to Alejandro Kirk. And I was like, "Bro, it's 9 a.m. I'm trying to do my fucking cardio. Can you not?"
I don't know. I'd want to be the catcher of the Toronto, one of the catchers of the Toronto Blue Jays too.
It's bad for the knees. All right. So I love when Taz says, "Well, here comes the pain." It pops
Oh,
me
here
so hard.
comes the pain. It's my favorite call. I don't even care. Like you can have your Samantha Irvin doing the Gunta and like all this other stuff. Like it's boss time. Or all Michael Cole. Everyone, all the calls you want. My number one will always be "Here Comes the Pain."
Yeah, that's true. It's really, really good. Also, Brian Hebner is the referee for this match. I think everyone should go listen to Reffing It Up this week. They had Rene Dupree on.
Yes, and it is excellent because it's Rene Dupree.
It's an excellent time. It's a very insightful listen. It's very cool to listen to Rene Dupree tell stories. Brian and Jimmy Corderas and RJ are excellent as always. Go and listen to those guys. What do you think of the match?
This match is very 2003. Brock Lesnar has a concussion, according to commentary, and they allowed him to wrestle.
Yes. The movie Concussion hasn't come out yet. Tua Tagovailoa is still like a third grader, so they haven't figured this out yet.
Okay. Yeah, no, actually, he might have been a third grader because I would have been in. This would have been 2003.
I have
I would
no
have
idea
been
how
5 years old.
Tua
Tua's probably like 2 years older than I am, so he's got to be like 26, 27.
Tua's 25, so never mind.
Oh, so he's my age. Okay, so he would have been
in grade 1 kindergarten.
It depends on when his birthday is, though. To
March.
Be fair. Oh, so he's younger than me. Yeah, Tua's in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Or about to be in first
welcome
grade.
Welcome to my world where famous athletes are younger than you. Yeah, welcome. It's awful.
Brother, I have Jason Tatum. What? Jason Tatum's literally... He's also March of the year after.
This match starts with A-Train and Lesnar kind of just seeing who's the bigger bad boy, right? They're just pushing. They're shoving. Yeah. Lesnar gets A-Train in the corner, gets some kicks to the gut, but he gets a big elbow to running Lesnar. A-Train then misses what is essentially a brogue kick. And hits his like double choke sit out power bomb thing for a 2 count.
Yeah, sit out choke bomb, baby.
Albert bomb, baby. Big high knee to Lesnar.
Lesnar goes flying like he's Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 05.
Drops Lesnar neck first on the rope. Lesnar with a power slam to A-Train as he's coming off the ropes. Boot to A-Train charging in the corner. Then Lesnar with some impressive overhead belly to bellies.
Yes, one overhead belly to belly. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then he hits another one. And I'm like, oh. And then he goes for a third. And I'm like, Suplex City, bitch.
And then a fourth one is attempted, but A-Train breaks it up by headbutting him. Also important to note, we're at the point in the match already where Brock Lesnar is crab red. He is so red. How does
he do this? Because I know he has cardio. I know he does. I've never seen Brock Lesnar like gassed out in a match ever.
But he's always lobster colored, like always. It's the only thing that happens to him.
Him and Shane McMahon are like they just get red. It's concerning.
We don't get hurt; we just get red. Lesnar catches A-Train with an F5 like really soon after this,
out of nowhere. Yeah,
ends the match because the F5 was devastating at that point, and it still kind of is. Lesnar calls out Big Show afterwards for a lesson. Big Show obliges. A-Train did his job, did what he was supposed to do. Can you guess for me what was Albert's last match of his first run in WWE? Who did he face and on what show?
Albert's last match from his first run in WWE. It's got to be like Velocity.
It's Heat, so you're in the right ballpark.
Okay, Heat. Is it against like fucking TJ Wilson?
No, it's against Val Venus. His last match was lost to Val Venus on Heat. 2 weeks later, he was sidelined with a torn rotator cuff and was released from his WWE contract on November 1st, 2004, before he could return. He then went to All Japan in 2005, adopted the ring name Giant Bernard in a reference to wrestler Brute Bernard, who is a Quebec wrestler.
No idea who that is.
Somebody from, I believe, like the 50s is when Brute Bernard was doing his thing. Made his debut in 1957. So, and he's a famous Canadian wrestler. So, shout out to Matt Bloom for knowing the history. He then went to New Japan, and in New Japan, he was pushed pretty hard.
Yeah,
to the point
this
where
is my guy Gene right here.
We are covering the finals of the New Japan Cup in 2006. For those who don't know, the New Japan Cup, unlike the G1 Climax, is a single elimination tournament, and the winner gets a title shot. Correct?
It's basically like King of the Ring, but
It's like King of the
without
Ring.
the glitz and glamour of King of the Ring.
But they actually get a trophy and everyone still applauds them. It's like nice, and the trophy doesn't get broken all the time. That's also
Yeah.
nice. Because everyone likes to know. So our finals are Giant Bernard, aka Albert, versus Yuji Nagata, April 30th, 2006. I love myself a tournament and love looking at the route to get there. So here's who Giant Bernard beat: Toru Yano, Riki Choshu, and
Ooh.
Manabu Nakanishi, who I do not know.
Nakanishi. It sounds familiar. I couldn't tell you.
Nagata had the harder route. He
Yeah.
beat Tomohiro Ishii, he beat Togi Makabe, and he beat Hiroshi Tanahashi
Okay, but these are all of those people before they were,
before they were those
names.
people. Yes.
Like Tanahashi was still one of the young lions of New Japan that are going to come up and take over. Like he hadn't really established himself. He doesn't really do so until the following year, 2007.
It's like when you load up like an old
Toby
2K.
Makabe has always been kind of meh.
I love my 2K rebuilders, my 2K YouTubers who will go back and be like, I did a rebuild in 2K17, and they're like, fucking Ben Simmons first pick, let's go. Like the future's now. I snagged Tatum. Giannis is not good yet. Like all this stuff.
Oi,
Jokic is
Giannis was the
available.
most improved player in 2016, I think.
Look at you NBA dork. I'm just
Oh, it's
saying.
so much worse with baseball, brother. The shit I'm able to do on the immaculate grid is incredible.
I do well on Hoop Grid's not incredible. I keep trying to find my lowest score. My lowest score is not impressive by any
Well, you don't have
means.
to do hoop grids anymore. I think the immaculate grid finally added basketball and football.
I like Hoop Grids because you can get strikes. You don't have to just have 9 guesses.
Freaking loser.
That's right. This match is really really good.
Yeah. This is a really
Up to
freaking good
up to
match.
now, and it's funny because we never really know. Like if people tune in to hear us just being lunatics, or if people tune in to hear like specifically about matches, or just to get a good overview of the career, or all three, maybe. Who knows? It's a combination. But if you're looking for like good match content, you've reached it. Now is the
Yes.
time. Because man, this
Yeah.
is good.
This is not my recommendation for the week,
It's
however,
not.
but
I think the
it's
next match is my recommendation.
yes, the next match is absolutely my recommendation. But this is really fucking fun.
If you have never seen Matt Bloom in Japan, this is a good starting point.
Yeah, I would say
Like if you
so.
want to see like find a match that you can find easily on YouTube, because New Japan posted this.
Yeah.
Like go and watch it, and you'll see an impressive show. You'll also see Nagata do some good work.
Yeah, and it's Yuji Nagata who really just probably got introduced to people. Didn't he fight CM Punk at Forbidden Door this year?
Yes. Yeah, that's
So
what
like,
happened.
yeah, so like, most people probably know Yuji Nagata from like that, or like, obviously the guy's one of the greatest Japanese wrestlers of all time. Like he's
No,
incredible,
he
truly.
faced he faced Kojima. That's who it was.
Kojima, who the fuck? No, Nagata faced John Moxley at some event. I don't remember what it was, but he faced John Moxley at something, like last year.
Mm.
Um,
Probably
and
like a GCW or something.
no, it was AEW.
Oh yes,
And
yes. Okay,
then
yeah.
I can't remember what it was at, but it wasn't Forbidden Door because that would have been him against Tanahashi. But so yeah, this is like it was a hell of a match, mostly because like Bernard comes out. And so the clip starts. The entrances have already been made. Bernard steps forward and just full on pushes the shit out of Yuji Nagata.
Yeah.
Just fuck. I don't want to lock up. I don't want to do anything. I'm just gonna push your shit.
We get a big boot by Nagata early. It sends Bernard to the outside. Bernard takes his
Yeah.
sweet time getting back in the ring. Then overpowers Nagata, like you were saying, tests his strength. Nagata just keeps kicking him in the arm, and Bernard is getting pissed.
Yeah.
Turns an arm hold into a sidewalk slam, splash in the corner, slingshot guillotine. And this is where I realized it is wild how a trip to Japan can totally revitalize a career.
I know.
And I want
Truly.
you to think of specifically people who have been revitalized, not people who like got their start in Japan. Because I would say Kenny Omega really got his start. Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, he
but
went straight there.
who do you
Pretty
think
much.
has had the best like resurgence from going to Japan? Like they were.
I mean, I guess kind of Chris Jericho counts.
Jericho really did, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
everyone was kind of shitting on it, like, oh, like this is so dumb and it's so goofy and like he's over the hill. No, he's not. He's still doing fine.
AJ Styles is probably the biggest example of
Yes,
this, just because like I don't want to say he was down at the towards his end of his run there with TNA,
but it
but
was
like
just
it
hard.
wasn't the same. He
No,
wasn't. He didn't have the same like aura that he did around him from like 2005 to like 2008.
no, it wasn't the same.
He went over there. The guy became the leader of the Bullet Club and absolutely reinvented his career. It's what basically got WWE to give him a shout. And I mean, we've seen what we've seen from him for the better part of 7-8 years now.
Yeah,
And I guess AJ Jericho. Who else?
Matt Bloom, but
Yeah, Matt Bloom.
and then you see a bunch
It's
of people
just
who go to Japan and are successful and just stay in Japan, like Rene Dupree. We learned that a couple weeks ago.
yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with staying there.
Yeah.
I guess you could say like it's. I feel
Could you
like
say
if you
Luke Gallows?
truly, yeah, I would absolutely. I would say
'Cause
Luke
he was
Gallows, but
Festus.
he was Festus, and then he was Doc Gallows, not Doc
Yeah,
Gallows. Yeah, he was
he
Doc
was Doc
Gallows with
Gallows.
the
Straight Edge
uh
Society.
yeah, straight Edge Society. No, he was Luke Gallows there. He was Doc Gallows in Japan. And it's just one of those things where like you go there, and I feel like if you're like a big just like wrestling fan, like you truly love it, you will just probably want to stay, just
Yeah,
because it's like, listen, if you take the money aspect out of it, I'm pretty sure most people will tell you like, I want to wrestle in Japan. Like that's probably the best place to wrestle.
yeah. The sports entertainers want to sports entertain in North America. Wrestlers want to
Yeah.
wrestle in Japan.
I say money. Like if you take the money and like the familial aspect of it
Yeah.
away, which obviously those are two big factors, and that's why we only really have
You
like,
just ignore money and family.
yeah. If
You
you
go
if
to
you
Japan.
take that, like if you just do it, if you're doing it just for the love of the game,
God, love doing things for the love of the game.
you're
All
you're,
right.
you're gonna end up in Japan.
Bernard with a big lariat in the ring, big standing neck crank. Nagata with chops, but literally one strike from Bernard just knocks him down. Like John
Yeah.
Bernard has such a big advantage here. He gets a big delayed suplex, drops Nagata neck first on the rope, and then locks in a full Nelson. It's a lot of good stuff. Weird
Running
body
power
scissors
slam for a
spot
near
too.
fall. Yeah.
Yeah,
Body
I was,
scissors.
I was like, I don't. You're big enough to do a body scissors, but also just do something else.
Do a
I don't
bear
like.
hug.
I don't like body scissors.
Bernard hits him with a series of slaps, and Nagata fires back up because of it. Spinning heel kick at one point by Nagata. He does like yes kicks, which I don't want to call yes kicks because they're Nagata kicks that Bryan Danielson took.
I
But
literally wrote down, I'm like, these are pretty much yes kicks.
well, he just took them from him. Like that's
I
Nagata
didn't know that.
staple.
I didn't know that I was a Nagata staple.
Well, we will. Who knows? Maybe the next time we come around Japanuary.
Yes, actually, I think I'd really like a Yuji Nagata episode. That'd be pretty cool.
He no sells, or Bernard no sells the kicks, but Nagata's just like, fuck that. Hits an exploder suplex for a near fall. Enziguri Saito suplex for a near fall. And at this point, you got to think this brother has kicked out of an exploder suplex, an Enziguri, and a Saito suplex. That is
Yep.
like, two of those things are like the prominent finisher in Japan in the 90s.
It's true.
I feel like everyone either had a Saito suplex or an exploder.
Then we get a big boot in the corner by Nagata. CM Punk high knee in the corner. Bernard still kicks out. Immediately locks in an armbar after one of the kickouts, and so Nagata's gotten locked on. Bernard struggles but does reach the ropes. More kicks to a standing Bernard. He just gets a big boot while Nagata's running the ropes to get some room. Does a splash in the corner. Does like a
My
pump fake
favorite
on the Vader
spot
bomb.
of the match.
Dive into it. Go in.
He bump fakes the Vader bomb, and I don't mean like he acted like he was gonna go backwards and then doesn't. I'm talking like he recognizes that Nagata's gonna move. He does the movement to do the Vader bomb, but he lands on his feet because he's like, yeah, he's gonna move. And then he just immediately runs into the corner, hits his corner like splash.
Yeah.
So Nagata falls back down. Then he hits his Vader bomb again for a near fall. It's freaking excellent.
It's a really good spot.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Sit out chokehold bomb by Bernard for a near fall. So many near falls in this match. It doesn't seem like that, but as I'm typing it out, I'm noticing like, yeah, these are a lot of near
note
falls.
ends with kick out, kick out, kick out, kick out, kick out.
But I promise you, when you're watching the match, you don't really think about that.
Nagata avoids a powerbomb, hits a trio of Shining Wizards. Bernard kicks out. Overhead suplex. Bernard still survives. Nagata ducks the clothesline, and I love this because Nagata ducks the clothesline, but instead of like overselling, Bernard just stops and just clubs him in the back of the head with his other arm. I was
Yeah,
like,
that was fucking great.
good awareness. I like that.
Fuck off.
Bernard is selling the arm because he's been kicked repeatedly in the one arm all match. He sells the arm on the powerbomb attempt so hard. Can't get Nagata up all
Yeah.
the way. Finally does on the third try. 2 count. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I thought finally once he got him up, I'm like, oh, this is clearly the
He's
end.
also selling the core. It's not just the arm because he's been getting kicked a lot on the sides as well.
Yeah,
So you
the
can
guy
tell like
kind of kicks people.
at first it was the arm, but then you kind of see him like adjust to where he's putting more of the weight on his left arm or the
Yeah,
or right arm, whatever arm was not going to kick the
the
hell.
right arm.
And then
Yeah.
he's just literally just struggling with it, and you can see like he's like kind of purposefully shaking in the middle. This is incredible selling by Bernard.
This you and I were talking before we started recording. The big takeaway this week is if you only know Albert and Matt Bloom from WWF, you're missing out on the fact that this is an incredible professional wrestler.
Yeah,
He's got it. Like he gets it. He gets all the bits. He totally can see all the beats. He's able to do it all. So
he's good at this, man.
he hits a sit out tombstone of sorts. He wins the match. He wins the New
A
Japan
sit
Cup.
out to brother. That's a Samoan driver.
It is Samoan Driver. I couldn't think of what the word was, but sit out tombstone is not entirely wrong.
I guess,
Give me
but
some
also that's literally
technicality.
Rikishi's finisher. Like, what are we doing?
I
here?
know the disrespect it just showed. I'm going to get beaten up by the bloodline. All right, we're going to take a break. I'm going to change my identity. When we get back, we have a wonderful tag match, including Bad Intentions. Back from the break, and our boy Giant Bernard would align with Great Bash Heel, that stable, because again, New Japan, all about stable, all about having those big factions. In 2009, he betrayed Togi Makabe, and Bernard and the rest of GBH left the stable to join Shinsuke Nakamura's new stable called Chaos. He was in Chaos on the ground floor. He then formed the team Bad Intentions with a Chaos member named Machine Gun Carl Anderson.
Yes, sir. Chaos is funny as shit because Chaos is like the biggest babyface group ever, but it started off as a heel group.
I mean, that's how a lot of good things start. They start heel, and people just like their antics, and like, all right, we're cheering for them. We like them all.
Yeah.
And specifically, we're going to look at the 2009 G1 Tag League Finals. This, of course, being a G1, it's the same way the G1 Climax is, where there's a block of matches, and then they have the the semifinals and the finals. We have Bad Intentions, so of course, Giant Bernard and Carl Anderson versus Apollo 55, which is Ryosuke Taguchi and Prince Devitt, a.k.a. Finn Balor. You're telling me we get non-Bullet Club era Finn Balor and Carl Anderson on the pod?
Yes.
I
And
like
not
it.
only that, first off, the disrespect to Ryosuke Taguchi. This is one of the best wrestlers. They're one of the best junior wrestlers.
Oh, my whole note section is a love letter to Taguchi. It's the same thing. So we
This is
covered Apollo
incredible.
55 when we did the Motor City Machine Guns episode, way back in
Yeah.
like episode 50 something. And I remember being like, Taguchi's fucking incredible. I
Shout
had
out
the
to the
same
ass
thing
man.
happen again. It's like when I was in love with Rob Terry a couple weeks ago, but this is better.
Yes, this is actually good at wrestling.
This is like investing in Apple, and the other one's like investing in Zune.
Jesus. Seeing Taguchi with the like afro kind of hair, like will never not. He just looks like
Elite.
Big Foo. Like he looks like Big
It's Big Foo, the lost
Big
LMFAO
old
member.
fro.
I wrote down that Carl Anderson and Matt Bloom, truly a team of two elite bald men. It's like a
Oh my
Jason
God.
Statham, Mark
Carl
Strong team up.
Anderson. So they're doing the introductions, like because they're all in the ring. They're doing the introductions and they're doing them individually. And when they like mention Carl Anderson, he just drops down to one knee and just starts going like doing the machine gun thing as the machine gun noise plays over the arena. And I'm like, why did he leave Japan? I understand he needs money and he has family, but just stay.
He's so good there. The other one that I really like, I didn't know this. Apollo 55 has like funky ska music as their entrance theme.
Yeah, it is.
And when you play that shit on 1.25 speed, it is incredible. You get Avicii on the drop and you're going to have magic. Are you kidding me? This is nuts. I loved it.
Look at Devitt, man. Devitt looks so fucking skinny here. Like, I know Finn Balor is a very skinny man, and I get that.
He's like a
skinny
stick
here,
man
though.
with abs and a penis drawn on.
He looks like
That's it.
Daniel Garcia, but ripped.
Ripped to the gills. It's just abs, prominent bulge. and stiff figure limbs. Like that's it. It's the whole
And
thing.
the weird he's doing his best to get a Billy Joel Armstrong hairstyle, but he can't rock it, right?
Finn Balor is the definition of just like figure note because now he's like ripped, right?
Yeah, and now his
And
hair
like
looks great.
he figured it out. He's living the dream. Truly,
Yeah.
I know he's gonna get turned on in Judgment Day eventually. Like I know that's gonna happen.
No,
But
he's gonna turn on them. That's what's gonna happen here.
yeah, you think it's just gonna be him and JD and
What do you want him and JD, and then they're like, "Hey, fuck you guys. We're the Irish boys."
the Irish boy. They recruit. They just join Sheamus. They're like fuck it.
Yeah, Becky, like fucking good turns heel too. We got
Love
an
it.
all Irish stable.
So this is the recommendation this week. This match slaps.
Yeah, this is the
We're not
best
gonna
match of the
do
month.
we're not gonna do justice to how good this match is.
I had to slow it down.
I very rarely have to pause to make sure I've caught up with my notes. I'd do it like 4 times in this match. It's
I
just
had to slow
fast.
it down. I literally couldn't keep up. I had to put it down to 1.25.
So in terms of the actual match, early on, it's just them like it's the speedy Apollo 55 just trying to fell Bernard. He will not fall down. He tags in Carl, and Taguchi tags in as well. Hits Carl with the dropkick. Carl obviously being smaller, being the strongest of the Santa's elves.
So, the thing that you probably didn't notice, but like when Bernard slaps his hand, Anderson sells the hand. He goes, "Damn,
Shit, that's tough." I saw that. I love that. So basement dropkick combo by Apollo 55. Devitt with a nice suplex. Quick tags. They focus on the left arm of Anderson, and they just keep doing successive arm rings and tag the next guy in. Arm ring, tag the next guy in. Carl Anderson, isn't it like a... You know when they put
he's in
Loki in the
hell."
prison and he's
Yeah.
reliving the worst day of his life over and over again? It's that with arm ringers.
Bernard does corner shoulder tackles. He absolutely destroys Devitt with a strong whip to the corner.
Just bodies him.
Yeah, like he sells that shit like crazy. And then Anderson tags in. He goes for a Bronco Buster, but Devitt moves out of the way. And when he misses, Anderson lets out the loudest squeal you will ever hear in your life. He just goes, "Ah!"
When that happens, Bernard takes care of Devitt at ringside, runs him spine first into the post, sends him into the ring. We get an
And then
underhook.
goes to the ref. I no touch.
Yeah, underhook suplex with a stall by Bernard for a 2. Anderson runs some interference on Red Shoes, who's our referee for this match, so that they don't see the tag that Devitt makes to Taguchi. Eventually, Devitt does get a little bit of space by hitting the Pele kick, gets the tag to his Afroed friend. Taguchi's running wild. It's not even a hot
Taguchi.
tag. It's not meant to be the hot tag part, but he's so fast that it feels like a hot tag. He hits like the drop
He's just
kick.
hot as fuck.
Yeah, off the back of Anderson to Bernard. He pins Anderson. Bernard tries to senton to break it up, but Taguchi dodges, and Bernard hits Anderson with the senton, and then you hear Matt Bloom
just
go,
goes,
shit. Oh,
shit.
so good. Tilt-a-whirl backbreaker by Anderson to Taguchi. Taguchi gets some kicks. Devitt with a crossbody to Carl from the top rope. There's so much happening. It's such a good
Taguchi
match.
does the AJ like front wheelbarrow slam
Yep.
thing. Bernard hits a sit-out chokehold bomb to Devitt. Anderson rolls up to Gucci at the same time for a near fall. Anderson, picture perfect spine buster.
Very good. It's almost like he should be Arn's son.
Corner. If he were in AEW, Arn definitely would have tried to get that gimmick going. Corner splash by Bernard. Anderson follows that up with some Shogun kicks for a near fall. They set up what looks like a magic killer, but Ballot. Wow, I combined his two names. Devitt drop kicks Bernard. Taguchi hits a small package on Anderson for a near fall. Bernard comes through, does a meeting of the minds for both men, and then they just become too fast for him.
Too fast, too speed.
Too fast, too furious. Taguchi hits a twisting frog splash, pretty much like the Montez Ford, like where he goes instead of going like that, he like turns back around.
Yeah.
And so he does that. Balor follows that up with a coup de grace. Anderson breaks the pin, however, so they're not able to do anything with it. Jesus Christ, there's so much here. Devitt hits a code breaker into a roll up for a near fall. Bernard hits a sit out last ride.
Yeah, like he does the extra like oomph lift of
Yeah.
Devitt and then slams him down. I thought Devitt was fucking dead. Uh,
That on a
Devitt kicks out.
last ride is insane.
Anderson tags in while Bernard is incredulous about the fact that Devitt kicked out. Devitt goes for a roll up and Anderson kicks out. We get a cutter. Taguchi makes the save. Bernard with the sit up driver, then Anderson with the Shining Wizard to Devitt for a 2 count. We finally get them to connect with the Magic Killer. Anderson
Yep.
and Bernard win. They win the match. We didn't do it justice in that quick run through. Go watch this
We
match.
did not.
1.0 speed, 0.75 if you nasty. Like, go watch this. It's a good time. I did not know how successful Bad Intentions were.
Yeah, they won the titles, didn't
So
they?
they lose the tag title shot that they get from this match, which was against the Dudleys, who were the IWGP tag team champions at the time, because it went to a
We
double
covered
count
them
episode.
during that run in the Dudley Boys episode.
We did. Bernard and Anderson would defeat the teams of Saigigun, which is Yuji Nagata and Inoue, and No Limit, which is Naito and Takahashi, in a 3-way elimination match June 19th to win the IWGP Tag Team Championships. They would hold them for a record 564 days straight and have the most defenses in the title's history with 10, including ones against like Beer Money, which is a wild match to think about.
Shout out
to Bad Intentions. Had no idea just how good they were. In fact, they kind of were the backbone of taking the New Japan Tag division for like 2 years.
The Good Brothers are great and all, and I love their vibe, and they definitely get along better, probably more so like personality wise than I assume Bernard and Anderson probably did. But fuck me, these two could work together.
On March 17th, 2012, it was reported that Bloom had re-signed with WWE. Bloom publicly denied the signing, and then on the March 19th episode of Raw, so 2 fucking days later, he appeared in a vignette under the new name Lord Tensai. Now, before we talk about the match, because we're going to cover a match with Lord Tensai and John Cena in just a second, I want to talk about the way that this gimmick failed. Because this Lord Tensai was a huge failure.
Yeah.
I think the spirit of the gimmick is right. The execution is all wrong. The idea is this man was here before. Like, commentary mentions that Tensai has been in WWF before. They don't call him Albert, but they say he's been here before. But then he went to Japan and he embraced the culture and
he learned the ways of the warrior.
And now he has these tattoos that are fake across his face, and he comes out in like a Shredder cosplay as his fucking entrance attire. He has Sakamoto with him doing the rice. I think the idea was to say, hey, this wrestler was here, they've come back, and they're bigger and badder and stronger now because of their time in Japan. If you just called him Albert and did that thing, if you just called him Albert and said, Albert was here, he was, he did a lot of things. He was the hip-hop hippo. You might have seen him in X Factor. He was an Intercontinental Champion. He was A-Train. He's all these things. But he's found himself. He went to Japan and he found himself. You don't need to call him John Bernard. You can call him Albert again. That's fine. But present him as a fucking badass, because he went to Japan and became a Haas badass.
Honestly say that he's legitimate. And I honestly think that if this transition, like him coming back, had happened in the last 3 years rather than 2012, or was it?
It happens in 2016 where they magically started to acknowledge that New Japan existed.
Yeah.
So 4 years later, happens 4 years later, would have been perfect.
But the issue is, like, it was back in a time period where they absolutely refused to acknowledge any sort of wrestling outside of WWE, which was just ridiculous. Like, you know how how many accomplishments you could have said? Like, this guy's he's a former New Japan Cup winner. Like, this is a guy who challenged Brock Lesnar for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
2-time Tag League winner. Longest reigning IWGP Tag Team Champion. Do you know who else he won the tag titles with in New Japan? So he won once with Carl Anderson. He won with Travis Tomko, baby.
What did you say, Travis?
Yeah.
Isn't it Tyson Tomko?
Not when he was in New Japan. He was Travis Tomko.
I'm all set with everything that I was just told right there.
Yeah. I mean, his real name is Travis Tomko. So.
I don't give a shit.
I think you're right. If they were in a space where they would acknowledge it, it would have been great. but they went this whole other direction of I'm now a Japanese warrior. Like I'm bordering on cultural appropriation at all
Nah, you know what
times.
this reminds me of? You ever see the Great Wall, the Great Wall of China movie that
With Matt
stars
Damon,
Matt Damon? Yeah, that's basically what this came
the
across as to me.
spiritual successor to The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, but at least that was a decent movie.
That was a decent movie. That's actually pretty good.
Like the Great Wall sucked.
Matt Damon had a weird stretch there. He was not in any good movies.
I mean, wasn't it like the Great Wall and then he was literally in The Martian right after that?
No, but like the Great Wall, I think was the end because I I don't like We Bought a Zoo. I might be in the minority. I know some people really liked it. I thought it was bad.
I thought it was a charm. I also think it's a kids movie. You know, like it's fine.
Fine. Speaking of other things that were bad, Lord Tensai versus John Cena Extreme Rules match, April 16th, 2012. This is 2 weeks after his debut. He debuted on April
Yes,
2nd.
it's
Cena
billed
is
as a mystery opponent.
Yeah, Cena is facing a mystery opponent in an Extreme Rules match because in 2 weeks he will be having an Extreme Rules match against Brock Lesnar, who had just made his debut. Cue Brock Lesnar guy gif. Cue the fact that he now has like hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram because of that one shot. Good for him.
So weird.
So weird.
Um, Also, this clip that we have starts with them promoting Russia,
Yeah,
which
they
is
just did a
weird.
show in Russia, and there's
It's
apparently
really weird.
somebody there loves Beth Phoenix, which I was like, good for you. I too love Beth Phoenix.
Good
I don't know.
taste.
Good taste.
Um,
John Laurinaitis, who is the one who's really feuding with John Cena
which is
forever.
so weird. It doesn't make any sense that he's feuded with Cena, and I'm thinking about it now because like Cena is literally just a couple weeks removed from losing to Rock in the once in a lifetime. That wasn't once in a lifetime.
This is the one where when I look back, I thought this was where they could have done like John Cena has the worst fucking year of his life and had a
I mean, they
really
did that.
I know, but like could have been the heel turn.
I think it could. It didn't
This
even have to be a heel turn as much as it literally just could have been like a
character refresh.
just like an edgier like version of him where he's kind of like a tweener. Like he does some
Yeah.
bad things sometimes, but he's not a bad guy.
Yes, or he continues to do the bad things he already does because John Cena does some pretty shitty things, but WWE actually acknowledged them as being mildly shitty instead of just being like, "Oh, he's overcome. Thanks for taking that title back from Rey Mysterio, who just fought for it for a fucking tournament."
Or like let's say he challenges CM Punk at any point during that year. Like CM Punk's the most over guy in the company at this point. Like have CM Punk be the pure out and out babyface in that and have Cena act more heelish.
No wrestling fan's gonna buy Tensai. I don't know
Yeah.
how they don't see that. This is a Vince McMahon special through and through.
And when you look
Ooh,
at like his run after, I mean, you'll definitely do a rundown after this match, but
I sure
it just
will.
went nowhere. It went
It went,
nowhere, and it went downhill very quickly.
yeah, it didn't go nowhere. It went bad.
Yeah,
It went in a direction. The direction was bad. So let's talk about the actual match. They Tensai with some right hands goes for suplex. Cena counters one of his own. Tensai immediately back up, hits the splash. They're really letting Tensai get some strength here. I hate calling
Tensai
him
with some awful kicks to the gut. I can't lie. I have to say those were some really awful kicks.
He whips Cena into another corner. On the outside, Tensai tosses Cena into the stairs. Cena back body drops him as he's going for a powerbomb onto the steps, and then Cena does his favorites. I think this is Cena's favorite spot, his favorite weapon to use. John Cena loves steel steps more than any human being on earth.
Yeah,
Uh,
John Cena is to steal steps what the Dudley Boys are to tables.
yeah, Rob Van Dam to chairs or Edge and Christian to chairs. Take your pick. Jeff Hardy to ladders and other tall objects that shouldn't be jumped off of.
MJF with the diamond ring.
Yes. Sandman, kendo sticks,
Yes.
everyone needs their favorites. John Cena does his steel steps and he wallops Tensai with them in the face. Like, I'm surprised that his fake Japanese tattoos didn't rub off when he got hit with that.
Jesus Christ. You know, the funny shit is, like, when they were explaining what the tattoos mean, they're like saying, like, oh, Tensai is great. They're like, oh, the tattoos mean Tensai is great.
Tensai's
Tensai
coming.
is big. Tensai is strong. It's like, bro's just writing affirmations in the third person on his forehead.
Tensai is strong. Tensai is important.
Tensai is
It's the
so
scene
great.
from The Help. It's just written in Japanese characters. You is kind. You is smart. You is important. Now go beat up John Cena. Yeah, nobody thought there'd be a help reference this
Now
week.
go
Here we go.
shit in your owner's in your boss's food.
The shit in the pie scene is incredible. It's incredible. Is that
It
Bryce
might be an
Dallas
all
Howard?
time revenge. Yes, Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah.
No, it's yeah, it is because this movie has both Bryce Dallas Howard and Jessica Chastain, which is very confusing for my little brain. But Bryce Dallas Howard eating the shit pie, magnifique. The movie is terrible with white savior complex, but that scene, magnifique.
Magnifique. Bonjour. Anyways, Tensai's manager kicks Cena in the gut. And then he
Sakamoto.
does it a couple times. Yeah. And then
And then
Otunga runs out.
Cena's best tag team partner, David Otunga, who is at ringside with John Laurinaitis, sends Cena back into the ring.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck this slam that Tensai did was, but it's kind of like so he starts him off in the pedigree position and then picks him up in the air like he's doing the glam slam kinda. And then just like suplexes him off to the side.
Yeah. It's a double underhook like face buster.
But it's not because he like just to the side. He just suplexes
He
him.
swung his body to the side.
The fucker swung his legs to the side.
I love that. It's like me explaining Rey Mysterio 619 to my grandkids. He swung his body to the side. So big suplex, trap hold because he loves it. Tensai misses the splash in the corner. Cena with shoulder blocks, the spin suplex. He's going for the 5-knuckle shuffle. Tensai pops up and chops Cena as hard as he can as he's going for the
On some
5-knuckle
Gunter
shuffle.
shit.
Yes. Splash
Straight
by
up.
Tensai for a 2 count. We get an arm bar, which was fine by Tensai.
I mean, it's just a Fujiwara armbar. Honestly, it's
Fujiwara
impossible
armbar.
to make that look good.
Cena rolls through, gets the STFU, quotation marks up, locked in. It's actually not the worst one he's ever done. It's not good, but it's not. It's like top 50% still.
Sure.
The bar's on the ground, so
yeah. Otunga
Otunga
comes
runs
in. Cena releases the hold, hits an FU to Otunga, turns around. Tensai missed some straight in the face, as clean of connection with the miss as you'll ever get. And then hits his sit out choke hold bomb. 1, 2, 3. Lord Tensai has beaten John Cena in an Extreme Rules match.
This is how Raw ends. Cena is asking for water for his eyes, and Raw just goes off the air. I'm like, I'd be fucking pissed. I don't know.
I mean, Raw fucking sucked back then, man. Why do you think I stopped watching?
I didn't watch in 2012, and I'm glad I didn't. So this was April. What was this? April 16th. By May 21st, Tensai had dropped the Lord portion of his name because, again, he hates being royalty. No more Prince Albert. No more Lord Tensai. All of that's done. He got rid of the Japanese outfit. He began losing much more frequently through the rest of 2012, beginning with John Cena ending his winning streak and then losing to World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus. The losing streak caused him to abuse and attack Sakimoto, who eventually stopped appearing with him. And then he kind of got back in the winning streak. He was not on a streak at all. He just was like a 50-50 guy for a while. January of 2013, he was tricked into wearing lingerie while participating in a dance-off with Brodus Clay. Now, I don't know about you. I've never been tricked into wearing lingerie. I don't know how one gets tricked into that.
I don't know how he fits into any kind of lingerie.
Big girls need lingerie. They got lingerie for everybody.
How many 6'8" big girls are there out there?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the WNBA rosters recently.
I don't think there are many.
I don't think there are either. 2 days later, after being mocked for his lingerie dance, Tensai defeated Titus O'Neil. Brodus Clay came out to support Tensai during the match, and Tensai danced with Clay after, signaling a face turn. They would be tag team partners for a while, then Brodus Clay would turn on them. They were supposed to have a match at WrestleMania that was, I believe...
It got bumped off the card.
Yeah, it was supposed to... Like, the Funkadactyls were involved. And
the Bellas were involved on the other side, I think.
Yeah. So that was supposed to happen. Which
they got bumped off the card.
Yeah. Yeah, it was supposed to be the Funkadactyls with Tensai and Clay against the Bella Twins and the Rhodes Scholars. And they got bumped off the WrestleMania 29 card. Then the heel turn by Brodus Clay. Then the real life heel turn by Brodus Clay, but we don't need to talk about that. After Tons Funk disbanded, Bloom was taken off television in January 2014, was in NXT, and he was a commentator under the name Jason Albert. And then he stayed retired from in-ring competition. Announced he would just be a trainer at the Performance Center. And was promoted in March of 2015 to the interim NXT head trainer, and then became the official head trainer. And when you think about, like, now that we've learned a lot more about his background, he's the perfect guy. He's
Yeah, he's great.
he's not a technical wrestler, but he's technically sound. He's a
Yeah.
big guy. He has a lot of agility. He's a teacher. He literally was a school teacher before this, so the
Yeah.
coaching part is going to come naturally to him. Experience in old school WWF style, in the attitude, like in the ruthless aggression era, in Japan, in the modern era. He's done all of the different things. He's been all over the world. If there's
Yeah.
anybody that I would want to coach people, it's somebody who has his mix of like experience and skills.
Yeah. I think he's the perfect head coach.
Yeah.
I do think that, there are certainly tons of areas there where I hope that he has a good staff around him, promos being one of them. Like,
Yes.
you can never replace Dusty Rhodes. Like, it's literally impossible. Guy is literally the greatest promo of all time. But, like, have someone up there who's pretty good on the stick to go along with Albert. Because Albert, listen, Tensai, Bernard, whatever gimmick he's under, the guy was never really a great promo. He's all right.
He's a serviceable promo, usually in before match segments. Here's a
Yeah,
question
but
for you.
that's just not it.
You're a wrestler. You're a young wrestler. You're up and coming. You get to have one person who is still alive coach you in promos. You get like 6 weeks to learn the art of the promo with somebody, an active wrestler or a retired wrestler who's still with us. Who do you choose? Because if it's dead, we're probably choosing Dusty.
Yeah,
Obviously.
no, I'm choosing Dusty.
Right
It's
now,
tough right now. Okay, does it have to be like feasible, or do I literally just
it
get
could
the
be
pick?
literally anybody.
I'm between two, and I don't think it's two people that you would necessarily expect.
Okay.
The first is it's kind of on the nose because it's me, but John Cena. Like, I think
Yeah,
John
oh,
Cena's
that's
an
fair.
excellent promo.
John Cena can either elevate you or destroy your career with a single promo. Looking at you,
Yeah,
Austin
because
Theory.
listen, like, don't get me wrong, like, CM Punk is probably the people that most people probably think of because he's such a great talker. Maybe like
First one I
Kevin
thought of.
Owens and Adam Cole. Like, those guys are great, but I just think that there's a certain level of character work, and like, I think if you want to be the top guy, like, there's a certain level of, like, I don't even know how to like, professionalism that you sort of have to give off with your promos. Like, something like, you have to be able to make people feel shit while also, like, there's just like an it factor to it too. And I
Yeah,
just feel like, some people, you can't teach it, but I think John Cena would do his best to do so. And I think, kind of in that same vein, Cody Rhodes is another person I would
that's
want to
fair.
learn from.
Cody's
Like,
good
Cody's a
for that.
great
Yeah.
fucking promo. He's a really good talker, just naturally, just like kind of learning that. And I mean, a part of it does just become like he's Dusty's kid, and maybe he can give me some tips from Dusty as well.
I know what mine is. CM Punk was the first person I thought of, but my answer is Paul Heyman. Like,
No, because it doesn't work with everyone. Like, like, Brock was never able to talk.
if you can get me 6 weeks of hanging out with Paul Heyman to like perfect certain types of promos, I will.
He's gonna take 10 grand from you in those 6 weeks.
Yeah, I know how the business works with Paul Heyman. I get that. That's fine. That's fine. The other
He's still the
person,
GOAT.
in terms of I mean, CM Punk is full time now with Collision, but like my brain was like, oh, MJF would have things to tell you, but he just doesn't have as many years under his belt of being.
He's also like barely older than me. That's just kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. What did you think going back and looking at the career of Matt Bloom?
I will say, I just have to say this, like being completely frank, like, we've done 170-ish.
This is 177.
Yeah, we've done 170 odd episodes of this shit. This is genuinely, I think, one of my favorites that we've covered, just because of like.
Yeah,
he's someone that I went into it not like I knew of him. I remember him watching him when I was a kid. Like, I know the career of Prince Albert, and A-Train, that whole era of him. And I've seen, we've seen a little bit of him. I think we covered a match he had with Tanahashi in the Tanahashi episode, and I want to say that we might have seen some work from him in Japan at some point, or either not we, more so me. Like, at some point, I may have seen some of it, but like, just going in there, fully deep diving in, and like really, really paying attention to him specifically. Like, this guy fucking gets it. and he's really, really good. Like, I want to go and look at more of his stuff because you see it
Yeah.
early on, even with the Baldo stuff. Like, there's potential in this guy. I think he just kind of at the beginning there was just kind of entering wrestling at a period that didn't really suit him. Like, I think he was always kind of meant to be one of those big gaijin guys in Japan, and I think if he had done
Yeah.
that from the beginning, like, it would have been perfect. And then coming over later in his career, he could have been one of those guys. Like, look at Lance Archer nowadays. Like, Lance
Yeah.
Archer went over to
Yeah.
Japan and was fucking awesome. And it's been hit or miss with AEW, but like, anytime he's in Japan, the guy's really, really good. I think
Yeah.
that happens with a lot of those guys, and it happened with Albert. And I think that seeing his progression here, seeing all the stuff, and it's kind of it's a little annoying that it kind of fizzled out on a bummer at the end there of his career. But we see this guy now that he's the head of the performance center, and it just makes a lot of sense. He's a guy who has the experience, who has the know-how, who can definitely go. And more so, I think, than anything, he's a guy who has this sort of physical credibility to him, where like
Yes.
it's one thing when like, when Dr. Tom was down there with I think it was Dr. Tom and Dusty, who were the two guys for a while there, especially like FCW early NXT days. Like, how do those two guys teach someone like Omos? Like someone like these big guys who come down there, like they don't know. They're not big man wrestlers. I think there's a certain level of like, yeah, this guy doesn't know anything about like, the cruiserweight style. Like, what's he teaching Carmelo Hayes? But also at the same time, that's what Shawn Michaels is there for.
Yeah. I think you
Like,
were right when you said like he's the perfect head coach.
yeah,
Is it wrong? He feels like WWE's Andy Reid. Like he just knows.
yeah.
It's obviously like he's a big guy and he's got the beard, like the goatee, whatever. Like
Hey,
it's
big guy, like just traditional wrestling. I think he can.
Yeah.
He's very good at instilling the foundations of wrestling into people, and then like once you get to a certain level where you're able to you're ready to branch off of that and sort of start uh individualizing your portfolio. Like that's when you go to guys like Shawn Michaels, Sarah Del Rey for the women, people like that.
Thank you for joining us. Let's do a little wrap up, and then we'll talk about who we got next week for House Month. You may have seen it already on our Instagram or our Twitter at Crossbody of Work. Also, subscribe on YouTube if you're not already there. We got lots of fun content on here. Go check us out on Instagram. Likes, all those things, wherever you're listening. Give the thumbs up. Javier's doing the Orange Cassidy thumbs up if you're not watching on YouTube. It's wonderful. It's very wonderful. We got lots of wonderful reels on Instagram. Go check out the grid games. We got other wrestling related games coming to our Instagram too. Fullpressshop.com, cop the merch, support the boys. Fullpresswrestling.com for all the links to all of the matches we cover on this podcast. Of course, this week's recommendation is definitely that tag match with Apollo 55. It's some good shit. Go see how skinny Finn Balor once was. He's so tiny.
He's so
small.
skinny.
On the opposite scale of Finn Balor is the guy we cover next week. We went to Japan this week for a little bit. We're going to go to Japan for a lot more next week. We are covering Takeshi Morishima, a big fella and an
This is
ROH
a big boy.
legend.
Legend, someone that is a former Ring of Honor World Champion, the guy who fucked up Bryan Danielson's eye.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited for this, more so because I don't think we've maybe one time, I think maybe the Shibata match we got him in Noah.
One.
But man, I'm really looking forward to this because he's a guy who knows how to work stiff, and when he's angry, he will beat the fuck out of you.
He's been in the Samoa. He was in the Samoa Joe 3-parter too.
Yeah, but that was probably an ROH match. I meant more so like Japan, like we're going to
We're
Noah.
gonna get some
and stuff
Japan
like that.
Morishima. I'm
really excited.
This is part of the growing number of people where I see them for the first time being someone else's opponent on one of these episodes, and I go, "Oh, I need more of them." And so, a lot of them have been Japanese wrestlers. My Japanese wrestling education has been tremendous during this podcast. Eventually,
the growth.
Our spin-off podcast where it's just about Japanese wrestling is going to be fantastic.
Javier takes Evan to Japan.
I'd love to go to Japan. That sounds fantastic. But next week, Takeshi Morishima. It's now time for everyone's favorite part of the podcast. Javier, any final words for the people?
This week on Life Advice with Javier is really just me praising you, Evan. Because Evan, for those who haven't seen it yet, go look at it now. Evan, for peeling the curtain a little bit here, Evan does Evan does all of the editing for the podcast, which I cannot thank him enough for.
Oh,
He's incredible behind the monitor. The guy is incredible at all this. I always say I am talent on this show. I do very minimal things. I add some of the matches. I'm the idea man, but Evan here is very much the technical guy. I cannot praise him enough for his incredible work and all the hard work that he does for this show. But more than anything, this guy's magnum opus came out this week because when we covered the Fatal 4-Way for the Universal Championship, that right there is as high level of content that as we have put out in the damn near 4 years of doing this podcast.
there's
Or
some very
3
good edits in
years,
that
whatever
one.
it's been.
So yeah, there's some good edits.
And I was on my ass laughing at one point. I was brushing my teeth, and then I just noticed the first edit pop up, and I just started dying laughing. And then more stuff came out, and I was like, "This Evan's he's reaching his peak. Not only his peak, he's entering his prime when it comes to the editing stuff. Evan is making the content look great." If you guys are out there watching reels, if you guys are out there watching any of the YouTube content, if you guys are out here doing anything multimedia, even if you're just listening to this right now on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this, everyone, quick round of applause for Evan, because not only does he deserve it, this week's life advice is completely dedicated to him, because this is a man of the people, this is a man of the podcast, and this is someone that this podcast would not exist without.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. You just sitting here talking about how good fucking Matt Bloom is wouldn't work. You need two people. This actually, I'll spin that into life advice. Don't be afraid to teach yourself new things, because I had to reteach myself. I hadn't done any video editing since I was in college, which was 2015. And then we were like, we're going to start doing YouTube shit, because why not? And so I had to reteach myself how to video edit, which was stressful and annoying and led to some shitty times. But at the same time, it's a really fun skill that I now have, that I can be like, hey, if anyone ever needs a video edited, I can piece things together. And how about this for a teaser? If you made it all the way through this to the very end of the episode, there's probably going to be some longer form content coming on the YouTube that's all just edited videos, not just the boys talking. Going to be doing hopefully some long form content that you can enjoy. Thank you for joining us this week as we talked about Matt Bloom, Albert Baldo, whatever other things you want to call him. Are there any other random names we haven't mentioned him by? Let's see. Big Buford or Rusher Road. Thanks for joining us for the Big Buford episode. We are back next week for more Shima. We will talk to you then. Pew, 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 pew.